What's the creepiest encounter you have ever had with a stranger? When I was 19, I worked night shifts, 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. usually, and often walked home after work as I only lived like 15 minutes away. Given that this was in a small city, I often got offered rides by people who I'm sure were totally fine people, but I always declined and kept walking. One morning, a guy pulled up beside me and started the usual, "Oh, it's really late, are you sure you don't want to ride?" thing, and I kept declining and kept walking. He started driving really slowly beside me, no one else was around given the time, and after the 5th or 6th time I declined, he suddenly drove his car up onto the sidewalk right in front of me. As I moved backwards to get out of the way of his fucking car, he popped open the passenger side door and started screaming at me to get in, if I know what's good for me. Obviously, I panic and just run around his car and keep running towards a 24/7 gas station that requires you to be buzzed in if it's outside of a certain time. I was lucky to kinda know the attendant who usually worked nights/early mornings, so he buzzed me in immediately. I didn't have any time to explain what happened as I could see the guy's car coming into the parking lot, so I just told the attendant that I was going to hide because the guy outside was after me. There wasn't even any time to wait for an answer. I ducked behind a shelf and then shut myself in the staff room. The door was propped open and locks when it's closed, and needs a key pass to get in. That was probably the longest 5 minutes of my life. I could hear the door buzzer go off and then the noise of it being buzzed unlocked/open, but unfortunately, I couldn't actually hear any of what was said between them. After a few more minutes, the door of the gas station was buzzed unlocked again. It would automatically make the noise when opened from the inside, and then the door to the staff room I was crouched and opened. I still don't really know what I would have done if it was the guy from outside. Thankfully, it was the gas station attendant and he looked really worried as he promised me that the guy was gone and driving out of the lot now. "What the hell did you do to piss that guy off?" was the first thing George, I finally learned his name that night, asked me, and after I explained what happened, he looked even more worried. George told me that the guy had described me and said that his friend had taken something and wouldn't let him bring her home. I'm pretty sure I must have looked as scared as I felt, as George made me sit down and got me a bottle of water from the staff fridge. We ended up calling the police together, but nothing could really come of it as I didn't know the model of his car or the plate number. He had been smart enough to pull his car up on the side of the gas station with no cameras and walk up to the door, and so they did a couple rounds through the neighborhood, but didn't find anything. I think the scariest part of this whole thing was that the next week, I saw the guy in a different car with a girl in the passenger seat. I just really hope she wasn't someone he had picked up.